Hey guys, I'm Kalila Reynolds and it's time again for Money Mondays, brought to you in partnership with Proven Wealth. Well, a few days ago, a friend called me in a panic saying that they heard Wigton stock is now trading at -3 cents. I was like, is that even possible? Because that would mean that you're paying people to take your stock. You're trying to sell it. Nobody wants it, but you really want to get rid of it. So you'll say, I'll pay you 3 cents each just to take these stocks from me. I don't know if anyone would ever actually do that. Now, I had a hunch what had actually happened. So I went on the JSC's app just to check it out. And sure enough, I was right. Wigton's price had fallen 3 cents in trading that day, but the stock was still valued at 84 cents, still a handsome profit over the 50 cents in the initial public offer. So I explained that to the person and he calmed down. But I realized I should probably explain some of these stock market reports and terms here on Money Mondays. Some of it can be a bit confusing to the beginner. So the JSE sends out a market summary every afternoon after trading closes. It's posted on their website, it goes on the app, and the TV and radio business reports usually feature the information quite prominently. So here's an example of such a report. This one is from Friday. In Friday's trading session, the JSE market activity resulted in the trading of 64 stocks, of which 30 advanced, 22 declined, and 12 traded firm. That should be simple enough to understand. There are well over 100 stocks listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. It's just saying that on that particular day, people bought or sold their shares in 64 different companies. When it says 30 advanced, it means the price increased for 30 of those stocks. 22 declined means the price decreased for those 22 stocks. And 12 traded firm means the price for those remained the same as the previous day. Next sentence. The Jamaican dollar market volume amounted to more than 20 million units, valued at nearly $164 million. Market volume refers to the number of shares that traded in total and how much money they sold for. So we already know the number of companies that were bought and sold, 64. Now we know how many shares were bought or sold in those companies, 20 million, and how much money people spent on those shares, $164 million. The next sentence gives you the US dollar market volume, and that's basically the same thing. Remember, there are a few companies on the JSE whose shares are valued in US dollars, not Jamaican dollars. So it's just telling you how many of those shares sold and for what price. Then it tells you who the volume leaders were. And this is a good piece of information to track. These are the companies that people were very interested in that day for whatever reason. So these are the companies whose shares people bought and sold the most on that day. On Friday, the volume leader was Wigton Wind Farm. People traded more than 10 million Wigton shares on Friday. And you see that made up 52% of market volume, meaning more than half of all the shares bought and sold on the market on Friday were Wigton shares. Next was Mayberry Jamaican Equities and then Radio Jamaica. Then you'll see this list: stocks advancing, stocks declining, and stocks trading firm. So stocks advancing gives you a list of all the stocks whose price went up that day and by how much. It tells you the closing price. So you can see here, Blue Power Group closed at $6.48, and that's 19 cents more than it was the day before. In terms of percentage, it's a 3% increase. Now, when us business reporters are compiling our reports for the news, the percentage change is what we look at to determine who had the biggest gains and falls for the day. And why do we use the percentage rather than the dollars and cents? Well, it's simply because the stock prices vary so much from company to company. Now, you might have a high value stock like NCB worth more than $200. If NCB loses 20 cents, that's not a big deal. That's only 0.1% of its value. But if you have a stock that's worth $2 and it loses 20 cents, that's a huge deal. It lost 10% of its value in one day. That's why we go with the percentage. So looking at the percentages for Friday, we see CAC 2000 had the biggest percentage gain. Their stock price rose 15%. They gained $1.95 to end the day at $14.95. So we'd say CAC 2000 was the top advancer, followed by Consolidated Bakeries up almost 12% and JMMB Group up 11%. Then, of course, you use the same principle for the decliners. We see here that Mayberry Investments had the biggest fall on Friday, losing basically 10%, followed by AMG Packaging and Paper down 9%, and Portland JSX down almost 9% too. And then you have the list of stocks whose price remained the same as the day before. That's what they call traded firm. Now here at the end of the report, you'll see these numbers. The following reflect the movement of the JSE indices. In the business reports on the news, you'll usually hear this closer to the beginning of the report. So it has a list of all the indices on the JSE, and an index is simply a measurement of a section of the stock market, and indices is the plural of index. So you have the main market index, you have the junior market index, the financial index, and remember you heard about the financial index with Sagicor Select Fund. They're seeking to mirror its performance. You also have the US dollar index and all the others. You can look at the combined index, which includes the main market and the junior market. So it says the combined market on Friday advanced by over 1,500 points, or 0.33%, to close at 494,000 points. So what are these points that they're talking about? Well, the points represent dollars, but it's not an even ratio. I'm not sure how many dollars on the JSE equal 1 point. I could find out later today and put it in the description. But anyway, the point is when you hear the stock market advanced by so many points, it means on average, all the stocks that traded that day gained money. And when the market declined by X points, it means, of course, the opposite. So there you go. Now you can easily follow the business reports and actually know what they're talking about. There's also the JSE app, which is pretty handy. It doesn't break down the stocks into advancers and decliners, but you can easily look up whichever stocks you're invested in and see how they performed that day. The ones in red declined and the ones in green advanced. Those in blue remained the same. So you can scroll through or you can use the search feature. That's it for Money Mondays this week, brought to you in partnership with Proven Wealth. I'm Kalila Reynolds. See you next week.